I needed to make the topic of the JonBenét Ramsey case for some reason is coming up again. And of course, I reside in Boulder, but the issue is that obviously it's a very disturbing topic, and the fact that I don't want to be confused as far as likeness, facial likeness with Stephanie Ramsey, because I strongly suspect that Stephanie Ramsey was involved in the case. And the disturbing thing that I just realized this morning, at first I woke up and I was feeling really hopeful about something completely different, and that was the realizing the revolution of Pluto has completed, and a completely sort of unrelated topic, but for some reason, the JonBenét Ramsey case is, I know why, because the brother I see around town a lot. And I already noticed the likeness of this person to the brother of JonBenét Ramsey. And I myself don't want to be confused with Stephanie Ramsey. But the guy that resembles JonBenét Ramsey's brother is, like I said, he comes around town here in Boulder like every few weeks. I want to say like I see him around like every, I don't know if I said weeks, but it's around every few months. So he, as I said, I already noticed the likeness of him to the brother of JonBenét Ramsey. And to notice also the likeness of John Ramsey to Bill O'Reilly, and then I've been researching the Skull and Bones organization for different reasons. So this morning, I just happened to look up the founder of the Skull and Bones and the Skull and Bone and when it was, because I was trying to determine when the Skull and Bones originated, when that organization came into fruition in regard to the start of the beginning of the U.S. government in 1776, and also in reference to the orbit of Pluto. It sounds unrelated, but it isn't. And the more that I research, the more things are coming like piecing together. ... So Skull and Bones started in 1832, and the Skull and Bones have a very strong presence in Boulder. And I've run into it many times already. It's very disturbing to me. And again, I need to reiterate, because I don't want to be confused with Stephanie Ramsey at all, because like Stephanie Ramsey's much older than me, first of all. And second of all, I just don't want it. Who would, right? And I don't need an answer to that question. However, I worked for the FBI. I was hired by the FBI. So here's another sort of crossing of paths, because I think Bill O'Reilly worked for the FBI too, and I haven't looked that up, but for some reason that he actually was a high member in the FBI, and I only worked for the FBI for like a week. I went for a week of orientation in 1983 when they came to my high school, and they were recruiting or looking for candidates for employment. And I'm trying not to go too far into that because that's sort of unrelated, except for to realize why, this case, other than the disturbing story itself, but why it comes to my psyche so much. So when I looked up the founder of the Skull and Bones Society, it's a sketching, but the founder, and I can't remember his name because this is this disturbing to me that it's like I want this information out of my head, and I need it out of my head, and I need it because JonBenét Ramsey has, she has a facial look other than the color of her eyes, and I don't really want to go into this because I'm finding that the Skull and Bones might be, the society might be behind what's going on with my children, or what I'm hearing is, and it's very disturbing. And to go up against such a society and know what you're dealing with, and then more and more finding dots connecting, it's really really upsetting. There are days like in the past, that I have thought to myself, I really don't even believe. There's some days that I don't believe that JonBenét was actually murdered. I think that she was tortured, but I don't believe. There are days that I don't believe that she actually passed away, and that also is disturbing because of reasons that I can't emotionally deal with right now. To emotionally and intellectually accept that people are this evil in regard to children, or in regard to anything. But Stephanie Ramsey, I don't think Stephanie Ramsey's dead either. I believe that she was attending a shelter in Denver at the same time I was at this particular shelter, and she was very out of it most days. And this was in 2013. And I didn't recognize her as Stephanie Ramsey at the time. And I can't even remember the name that she went by. And if I could, I probably wouldn't mention her name. But right now I see that there's a likeness of myself to Stephanie Ramsey, just like like I could be confused with her in like photos. I think that in person I couldn't be, but in photos because of the one-dimensional sort of appearance. But anyway, when I looked up the founder of the Skull and Bones, now I can't even think of the name, William Russell something, William Huntington Russell, I think is the name. And the sketching that comes up online, that sketching has a very strong resemblance to John Ramsey. And that's disturbing to me, because it's like blaring in your face the guilt of what you see in right surrounding you. And it's very disturbing. It's very and then while I was doing this research this morning, I was driving around town yesterday, and I drove by the library, and there's this building on the corner, and I was looking at it because it kind of looks like a church, but there's no sign outside. And I never really noticed the building before, but there were men out there working on the building or on the road right there at that small intersection. And then, and I was looking at it in interest because I was like, gosh, that looks like an old church. I wonder when that could have been built. And then I was like noticing that it had brick. And then because my original thought was could that have been built in the 1600s, like that church in Bel Air? And then I noticed the brick, and I thought, so my point is that I was noticing this building on the corner. I had never really taken notice of it before. I never noticed it before. But again, the work being done at that intersection on the road, it's a very small intersection. And so it drew my attention there, which had never, and it's also, and then I thought, no, it couldn't have been built in the 1600s because there wasn't brick in the 1600s, or they didn't use brick as far as I know. But my point here is that my attention was drawn to it enough to like take notice of what this particular building looked like. And then when I this morning got on and was researching, the pictures that I saw also resembled the JonBenét Ramsey house. But I would have to do further research into what their house looked like and where it is. I hadn't realized if that is the JonBenét Ramsey that I have been so not drawn into it, but just to realize that case is so evil to me that, and I would imagine to some other people too, but sometimes you feel like you're the only person who really this like is still rocking the core of your existence every time the topic comes up. And with this person who comes around and looks like it could be JonBenét Ramsey's brother, it's even more disturbing to know that those people are around you pretty much on the and then I have my own stuff from my childhood going on, that and so it's just like, oh my gosh, I feel like I am so surrounded by evil that it's, how do you even get past it? But I just wanted to bring forth the information and to other people's attention who maybe are trying to uh, dig themselves up out of the constant burial of the innocent under this particular organization, because I think that's a tactic that they use to I know it is. I know it's, and then to realize that again, the connections in my life, and in regard to connecting dots and like things really making like blaring in your face without having any kind of support, because it's such a huge secret society that's not so secret anymore. And it's, my point is that it's just like blaring in my face, the amount of evidence, or if you want to call it circumstantial, the likeness of Bill O'Reilly, or Bill O'Reilly to John Ramsey, and then John Ramsey and Bill O'Reilly to the founder of the organization of the Skull and Bones, which has a very strong presence here in Boulder, and is obviously where that case took place. It's very disturbing, very, very, very disturbing. And the odd thing is that I awoke this morning with great hope about the future of the earth, because I've been so concerned about things that I see going on. And like with the earth and all the reports that I see about weather around the globe, and the floods and the earthquakes and tsunamis and tornadoes and hurricanes and volcanoes and stuff. And when I was riding through the canyon again, I could, for the third time in the past like 2 months, I can actually see that the canyons are closing, like the mountains on both sides of the road as you ride through the canyon, and then the canyon, depending on which direction obviously that you're driving, the water that used to run through the canyon obviously is very exponentially less than it used to be in like 1996, 2000. But then here in 2024, I can visually notice that the mountains on both sides of the canyon are closing. And then as I was driving through the other day, I actually turned around because it was almost like I could see like the mountains were talking to me, and they were like giving me the information. And I actually turned around and got out of the canyon because it was like that serious of an observation that I could see. And I've never been scared riding through the mountains before. And I think I've talked about like Pikes Peak, that I was scared riding through Pikes Peak years ago because you could see that the road was crumbling away from the side, from down. And I was like, so I think that I've never driven up Pikes Peak. I think I've only driven up Pikes Peak by myself one time. But the fact that I can see that the mountains are closing in, they're a canyon that I rode up regularly, like every day. I rode through from Lakewood to Morrison up to Evergreen because I love the mountains and I love seeing the elk and whatnot. And it just helped me wind down after work or whatever for the evening. It was just a nice ride to just kind of end my day with. And to be alarmed enough at what I could see, that I made a U-turn at the very first safe point that I could, it is significant. And there's a significant, I would like to be able to know who to speak to or who to contact in regard to any kind of formal data that's been collected, and I'd like to believe that I'm not the only person who's paying attention to these kind of things. But I'd like to believe that evil people such as, the people who were involved in the JonBenét Ramsey incident or horrific event, didn't exist, as well. So I just needed to comment on what I'm seeing. And it's all just so disturbing to me. And the fact that I awoken this morning with like such positive feelings in regard to, because also as I was driving through the mountains, I was noticing a lot of, and I don't want to talk about this really, because there's the evil people will go out and try to, we can't have her happy. And I remember someone in my life who used the expression frequently, oh, she's too excited. And it just is, and it explains so much, but is counterintuitive to myself, who thinks that to be happy, if you're not being happy about, murdering someone or something like that, then to be happy about in regard to innocent happiness, which is all I've ever strived for. And this person called themselves a Christian, and I've talked about this person. It's my younger sister Leah who used this. Oh, she's too excited. We're not supposed to, as Christians. I mean, this is the way, and again, dots are connecting everywhere. So I as I was driving through the canyon, I'm going to go ahead and talk about this. I was noticing at the same time, I was noticing that the canyons are closing in. I was also noticing that there was a lot of green, like there's a lot of flowers growing. There's a lot of, another reason I don't like to talk about this is because the people who are evil and connected to different cases, then they try to use that, what I'm seeing couldn't happen if the JonBenét Ramsey. Then believe me, this is the way that my words and my thoughts are twisted and turned. Everything that I say, and they always try to justify their actions and then I come back with saying, well, there's no justification for the JonBenét Ramsey case, or what happened to that little girl, or how people view children as objects of what disgustingness that they it's just really disturbing, and it's difficult because to wake up in the morning and feel hopeful and happy about something, that and finding the hope and happiness for future, for but then, right, it's just the kind of the way that everything kind of goes. And then somebody comes at you with, well, there can't be good without evil, and and I reject that type of thinking as well. And so as I was driving through and noticing that there's a lot of green growing in the mountains, again, that I know that wasn't, that's not, there's a lot more like small green growth, flowers and that there wasn't, like ground coverage, vegetation. So I was noticing that, and I was like, so why is this like this? Why is what's going on? And I think that the solar system, and I'm trying not to feel guilty about trying to find the silver lining and what, and because as soon as you feel guilty about something within your own, even as small as me trying to get past what I see about the JonBenét Ramsey case, and then there's it seems unrelated topics, but to me as a Christian, it's related because of Jesus being part of the creation not part of, but the creator of the universe. It is obviously my belief system. Um, and even as I'm speaking and saying different things, I hear my younger sister Leah's voice tone off in the distance saying so at different things that I say. And and it just makes me wonder if my younger sister Leah had knowledge or was involved in the Skull and Bones, like way back when we were young. And that's how she got so much permission to do the things that she did. And then to realize that Bill O'Reilly was part of the FBI. And however, in opposition, in regard to the JonBenet Ramsey case and the entwinements uh, because of myself being recruited by the FBI out of high school and then tested and investigated and then accepted as an employee. And then I just left after the week because I didn't like the assignment. We were given assignments at the end of the week of orientation, and I was going to be working in a basement room full of file cabinets. But the realization that I get pulled into intellectually and not really voluntarily, because the FBI uses me and I recognize this because of different things in my life, but I haven't gotten paid by the FBI. In other words, I feel like I've been used as like a secret operative of the FBI without pay and without my actual real-time knowledge of being sent to different places for the purpose of extracting information, particularly in regard to like businesses. So different jobs that I've had, I think that I was used to extract information. It's a subliminal process where I'm used without real-time knowledge. In other words, I wasn't called into the FBI and said, okay, well, we're going to send you over to this business over here and we'll pay you this much and then you're going to collect 2 paychecks. No, not like that. I was used as a sleeper cell almost, like the same thing as like a sleeper cell in terrorist activities, what terrorists use. And and uh so it's put me in different, obviously it's put me in very dangerous situations, and now I'm surrounded by some really creepy people at all times. But then to realize the involvement of the family I was raised in, and then to sit here and wonder day in and day out, why is no one listening to me? And then it's all blaringly obvious. As I'm hearing a door in the hallway open and close, and a child again whimpering and crying somewhere in my vicinity that I can hear. I'm trying to hear the conversation that I can hear, but it's like very muffled almost. Another door open and close. And now I heard a voice tone that sounded like Gina Henderson II say so. This. And as I was riding around yesterday, I pulled into the parking lot of the library along the creek, and there was something going on in the creek. I could hear somebody hollering like in agony, and the creek seems to be an area of evil activity. So I don't go down there very often at all. And then to just now this morning realize that if that is the JonBenét, the Benet Ramsey house on the corner right across the street practically from the library, which is right by the creek, where there's seems to be always an area a location of evil activity. Anyway, I just wanted to post with this information so that anyone who is an innocent adult making all efforts to stay out of and away from and get away from evil activity and or organizations that I still I believe that having as much information and being able to connect the dots in our own lives, even as disturbing as it feels, and as it feels to know to have this information, that but the more we can arm ourselves and be empowered against evil. So I'm going to sign off.